guest, good morning. I
Morning.
would like to turn things over to Thomas Hellwine for our invocation this morning. Thomas.
There we go. There's another one. All right. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I would like to start the meeting with the invocation. And yesterday was Veterans Day, where we honor those who served in the U.S. military, protecting our rights and our ability to live in the freest country in the world. And there's nothing more honorable than to have been given a holiday. Armistice Day originally, later turned to Veterans Day. And I would like to just raise a toast to those people real quick and thank them for their service.
Here.
Here.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And with that, I see Larry already has the flag up for the national anthem, or not national anthem, Pledge of Allegiance.
Katie's going to sing.
You don't want to hear me sing?
All right. Thank you, Thomas. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thomas, thank you so much for the invocation. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters, and I see we have a few guests this morning. I would like to start off by welcoming our guests with our first guest, Chris Lloyd Davison from London. Good morning, Chris. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you again for joining us. And I see we haven't seen in a long time, Paula Bass. Paula, welcome back. It's been a while. Oh, you're on mute.
All right.
Oh.
It has been a while. I'm glad to be back.
We're glad to have you. Thank you so much. We have a guest, two guests from Queen City Toastmasters, David Jones. Good morning.
Morning, Eric. I was surprised to see Vanessa too, so it's nice to see her.
Yes, good morning, Vanessa.
Morning, Eric. Nice to join you guys.
We appreciate you joining this morning. And here we have the guest. All right. Without any further ado, does anybody have any announcements this morning? Larry?
I would just like to thank everyone for their participation in our chicken barbecue this past Sunday. And also the Buffalo Bills did win. So we actually brought them a win, I think. We'll take some credit, right? No? Oh. Thank you, Eric, Mr. Toastmaster, or Mr. President.
Thank you, Larry. Yeah, it was a beautiful weekend. The weather was fantastic. And it was good chicken too. So thank you, Larry, for everything that you have done for the Hydrocephalus Association. And it was a fun day to have chicken. So are there any further announcements? All right, well, I'll turn things over to our Toastmaster of the day, Margot Subittner. Margot.
Good morning, everyone. After 22 years in the club, coming up with a new theme for a Toastmasters meeting gets challenging. So I was standing in my kitchen and I opened my cabinet and I have a collection of coffee mugs. And I thought, you know, all these mean something to me. We have all kinds of fun stuff. And at Tom's Diner, what's the first thing they come around with for most of us is our coffee. So I have coffee mugs I've received as gifts, some as souvenirs, some I've received for holidays. So I'd like to propose a toast to remembering those who gave us a mug, remembering a good time that shows on a mug, and may our coffee always be strong.
Yeah.
So this one is my cat lady mug. I have a few of those. As you know, I have some cats. And for our guests, you may not know that I write murder mysteries, mostly murder mystery dinner theater. So I have a bunch of them that say, you are dangerously close to be killed off in my novel. I have, please do not annoy the writer. She may put you in a book and kill you. And I have one that my husband made off with me on this morning when he saw it sitting here. It says, I'm a writer, anything you do or say will show up in my book. So thank you all for all the fodder that you give me as I do this. And with that, I would like to introduce our word master, Carol Ann. Carol, do you have a word for us today? I know you're there.
Yeah, here I am.
Okay.
Okay, my word today is negotiable. Negotiable. And this is an adjective, and it means open to discussion or modification. You pay to ride, and the fee is negotiable. And also a negotiable instrument is a document guaranteeing payment of a specific amount of money. This could include a promissory note or a check.
Thank you very much. So please use the word, I'm going to make an executive decision and assume that negotiate would also work, since I'm going to be negotiating with a few people to get some roles filled this morning. At least I hope I will. So, all right, moving on to that, I would like to make sure I give kudos to our general evaluator who volunteered earlier in the week, said, what role do you need to fill? So Tom Moran, could you please explain your duties to us this morning? Oh, you're on mute still, Tom. Tom, you're on mute. Thank you.
I was just testing the mute button on my computer here to see if it worked. Yes. I am the general evaluator, and as you can tell, the reason I was introduced right after the word today is because of the relative importance of the general evaluator's job. It starts out with the word general, which means I am over everything in the meeting today. I will be looking at every aspect of the meeting today, and I will be reporting back when the Toastmaster requests my report. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. With that, I would like to introduce our master, one of the more experienced Toastmasters in our club, Dave Licata. Dave, could you explain that to us, what your job is?
Good morning, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our welcome guest. It is the job of the master to keep track of our awkward pauses and our ahs and our use of filler words and our ums. Some time ago, 2 years ago, I decided to celebrate the first A I ever got in college. So I took public speaking 101 again out here at the local community college. And the teacher shared with us that you don't want to have a lot of ahs and ums because it makes you sound unsure of yourself. And you certainly don't want to be unsure of yourself in the middle of a negotiation. So I will be your Wizard of Oz. So please curb those ahs and ums. Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Dave. I've been looking through the list of participants. I do not see Ryan Flore there. Do I have a volunteer who would like to be our grammarian?
Good morning. This is Ryan Flore.
Oh, Ryan, you are here. Okay, you just signed on. Ryan, could you please explain your duties to us?
Absolutely, Madam Toastmaster. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and guests. This morning, I will be your grammarian. Please take the next 3 seconds to avert your eyes if you have sensitive constitution. But I'm going to show you my grammarian's mug this morning to make sure that you are all on board. Because in grammar, there are no negotiable changes.
There you go.
And so, as we prepare, I'm going to be listening for both incredible and unfortunate uses of the English language today and report back at the end of the meeting. Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. Moving on to our quote master, we have Marty Johnson is here this morning. Good morning, Marty.
Good morning, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and most honored guests. I have two quotes this morning. The first is, your direction is more important than your speed. And the second one I come across in a work environment quite often when I'm asking people questions and they may not want to get involved or they're for whatever reason. And this is the quote. You know what that sounds like? Question mark. Not my problem. So that's another department. Madam Toastmaster. And I don't think that there are a lot of coffee mugs that I would say that are negotiable. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Marty. Yeah, I have one. When you talk about work, I have my husband's coffee mug. I stole one of his. Old farmers never die. They just go off to the funny farm. Hey, can't have fun with this stuff. We have a timer this morning. I see Jackie Kenny is there ready and able to do her job. Jackie, could you explain your duties, please?
Well, I am ready to explain my duties, and I'm enjoying my tea this morning out of one of my favorite mugs from the Breast Cancer Canal Walk in Lockport.
Wonderful.
You will have 1.5 to 2 minutes to complete your table topics. You'll get green at 1.5, yellow at 1 3/4, and red at 2. Speeches will be most likely 5, 6, and 7 minutes for the time. And evaluators will get 2 to 3 minutes, and they'll get green at 2, yellow at 2.5, and red at 3. And that means stop talking, and it's not negotiable. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. And our jester today is Eric Snyder. Eric, are you recovered enough from your adventures yesterday to give us something lighthearted?
Well, I'd like to really talk about that little incident at work yesterday. Okay, we all like to sit down on the chair, like with our knee, and just try to plop on the chair. Well, yesterday I went through a chair in my break room at work. What happened was when you put your knee on it, you can sit down. Well, when I put my knee on the chair, I went through the chair because these chairs are so old. I went through hitting my shin.
Oh, Eric.
I completely broke the chair. Let's put it that way. I completely broke the damn chair. So it was one of the, and this was before my shift started, to be honest with you. So lesson learned, don't put your knee on a very old chair because it's likely to break. And Toastmaster.
Oh my goodness, what an adventure, Eric. We have a gesture master this morning. Nancy Ferry has joined us. Nancy, could you explain your job?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. This morning, I will be watching for your gestures, how you animate yourself. Please try to use a few. It's difficult in these little blocks to see anybody do anything but nod their head. So if you have, like Paula's taking her glasses on and off, great gesture, thank you. Any way that you can emphasize your speaking will be helpful to our audience, and I will be watching for whatever comes my way. And please excuse my finger going across my screen. I have one screen that has audio and the other one has visual, and neither one has both. So I know that my hand goes across to mute and unmute. So that's not an official gesture, but it is what it is. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, I'm involved in a couple organizations. I have my Lions mug. I've spoken at various clubs. I have a Rotary mug. I have a Kiwanis mug. So that's another set of mugs that we have here in our house, is all these different mugs from speaking and visiting other places. And with that, one of the people who's I have on my list is our quiz master, Phil Russell. Good morning, Phil.
Good morning, Madam Toastmaster. Before I get into my job, but the biggest thing you have to do today is pay attention. Pay attention, just like in school. Now, my mug, I always have a always fresh Tim Hortons mug. And of course, you have to have the AM Lockport Toastmasters It's Worth Getting Up For mug. But one of my favorites is the one that I am very most proud of because I have two children, my son and my daughter-in-law, who are in the military. And so it is a military dad. So I am very happy with this. But let's talk about this mug. The quote on it says, "A yawn is a silent scream for coffee." A yawn is a silent scream for coffee. Now pay attention. I may ask that question later because that's my job, is to quiz you on what you heard today. Pay attention, all you students, pay attention. You don't want to go to the JERG or detention. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Phil. Appreciate that very much. So before I show you the rest of this collection I have sitting here, I think it's a time for other people to have a chance to speak and use the word of the day. So I would like to introduce our table topics master, Charlie Deacon. Charlie, could you please call on some people to join the party?
I'll try that. I brought along four cups. First one says, "Respect the beard." Now, some of you might remember my first wife, Anne. Now, this would not fit with Anne, because one time I had a beard and she said, "Get rid of it or I won't kiss you." So I would like to call on Sylvia. And this cup is Florence Nightingale. And this reminds me of my daughter, who is a nurse. So Sylvia, do you have something like this a cup that's going to make you remember someone?
Wow, thank you, Charlie, for choosing me to speak today. The reason, Margot, I'm so glad you did this topic because I almost did it. Sitting at home during this virus, I opened up my counters, the cupboards, and see coffee cups. And I noticed not too long ago, I don't have an adult house. I had children's house, kids. So here is one, the M&Ms, the yellow on one side, green on another, and then there's four of them. So you have 4 people in this house. So everybody had their own cup of M&Ms. And that brings back memories of a Christmas that we received them from one of my aunts. I also have one that I was given from work with the painting from Joe Whalen of the YWCA on it. He was a local artist. Many of you know who Joe was. And this one, I know you're going to say, why you and your husband fight over this cup? Its handle is real easy and it's nice weight, especially when you put coffee in it. Probably the most memorable cup I have is the one I have of my kids' pictures. You remember you used to getting those screened, your kids' pictures and giving them to grandparents for holidays? Well, I have the ones that we gave my parents because they were both deceased, of my son, Matthew, on them, and he was probably about 1.5 years old. And I loved it. It was not a negotiable gift that we gave to people. They got it. Everybody got pictures at that time at Christmas. And we just It's just brings back memories. And now and then I'll bring it out to see what it still looks like. I don't put it in a dishwasher. Thank you, Charlie, for picking on me today. And I know picking is not the right word. Choosing today.
All right.
Our next person, I'm going to pick on David Jones, our guest. I volunteer for LCTV. Is there an organization which you would volunteer for?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. Greeting fellow Toastmasters and guests. The only organization I currently volunteer for, and it's one that's most passionate to me, is Toastmasters. Queen City Toastmasters in Charlotte, as well as District 37, part of the executive team there. And I think for me, at least, it's one of the more important organizations for professional and personal growth. When it comes to work, it's a non-negotiable type of a skill to have, to be able to communicate well with others. And for me, being part of the board of directors gives me a different perspective. When I started with Toastmasters, it was to learn to overcome my fears of public speaking. And now it's about helping the club, helping guests and new members become better and more professional speakers. And I get a lot of joy out of that whenever I see a member come in and they just start moving up the ranks, as well as myself, to be selfish. I can see where I was a year ago versus now. And it's a great skill to have. And that's why I dedicate a lot of my time to it, as does our other guest, Vanessa Weller, who is our president. And she's been with the club for many years as well. And I think that's what we all do here, especially all the board of directors. I know Eric is always coming on Queen City and promoting it. I believe that Toastmasters is a group that I volunteer most of my time for, because I truly believe in it. And who is our timer? I don't see her. There she is. And that's it for me. Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you. And next, I'm going to call on Jill. As you can see, I have a Coca-Cola cup. Now, I don't drink coffee. I don't drink liquor. So I drink Diet Coke. Jill, do you have a favorite cup that you drink as a rule?
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and our guests. And thank you, Table Topics Master Charlie, choosing me to give this honor. I did that just for you, Margot. Anyhow, at this point in time, I do not have a favorite cup. As many of you know, I drink Pepsi. I don't drink coffee. I've never developed a taste for it. I can't put enough sugar in it to make it tasteful to me. So coffee is not my drink. Tea is the same way. I should drink more water, but I drink Pepsi. And at this point right now, I'm drinking Pepsi out of the bottle because that's the easiest way to buy it. And plus, when I'm going out in the garden and around the house and everything, I can seal it up and then I don't spill it, hopefully. Once in a while, I loosen up the cap, don't seal the cap up, and it does fall over and go. Or there is the ever-present time when you knock it over and you open it up and it goes whoosh all over everything. And that's a real mess. That happened one time in my mom and dad's house and it went all over the kitchen. What a mess that was. Otherwise, I have a whole lot of mugs and stuff I don't think any of them are really important to me, but they're all packed up in boxes since I moved in here with Steve, and I have never opened the boxes up. I don't even remember what's in there right now. I should probably get them out for the yard sale, but we have so many
mugs already at our yard sale that we can't negotiate a price to get rid of them, that it's time to just say, oh, well, thank you, Mr. Topics Master.
Thank you, Jill. I must say, Jill, if I can't get my diet, I can get Diet Pepsi. So I sometimes go back and forth like that. Madam Timer, what do we have?
We have very careful speakers this morning. They didn't negotiate their time frame. Sylvia came in at 2:08, David Jones at 1:36, and Jill at 2:14, so all qualify.
And our word master, how did we do?
I'm happy to report that all three used the word of the day.
Thank you. So you may vote for Sylvia, David, or Jill. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. And while the poll is going to be placed up so everyone can vote, we've been talking about different kinds of beverages that fit in coffee mugs. Of course, as you know, I own a winery. So for my first birthday after I opened, I got one that says, like wine, I get better with age. We ought to be opening a bottle of wine. I have, there might be wine in here. I have, coffee keeps going until it's time for wine. And one of the more special ones around here actually is every employee has their own coffee mug. And that's sort of how you know you get through your probationary period. So I pulled up one of them and there's Mike Licata's, but Dave has one. Every employee has a mug with their name on it. And Jackie, I do like your mug that says herself. That's very nice. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. With that, I believe the voting is now done. So we're going to move into the speaking portion. Our first evaluator this morning will be Gerald Stevens, evaluating Mike Licata. Gerald, could you please explain to us what Mike's goals are this morning?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Mike is working from the dynamic leadership pathway. His goals today is to present a speech on negotiation. How well that worked with our word of the day, especially for Mike. I have a feeling I might hear that word a few times from him. His time, Mr. Timer, is 5 to 7 minutes. And he's going to spend some time on talking about negotiation styles and strategies and reflect on how a negotiation affects his life today. And I have his title if you do not.
I do. I have it. So Mike is working on the dynamic leadership path. This speech does center on negotiation, something he often does here at work when customers don't understand that regulations and laws do apply to them. So I'd like to learn more about negotiation from Mike this morning. His title is, But I Want It. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Licata.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guests. But I want it. That's usually one of the first negotiation tactics we learn growing up. Especially this time of year, we started to negotiate with our parents about what we wanted for Christmas because that question kept cropping up usually around middle of November. So when you used to present present your argument for some of the higher priced items that you would want at Christmas time, and they would say no, but I want it, was usually that last negotiation technique that I would use. Now, professionally, it's taken me a long time to learn how to negotiate, and I think the dynamic leadership pathway has definitely done a good job of preparing me how to negotiate by going this unit, especially going over the multitude of ways to negotiate and offering a lot of suggestions have definitely helped me in more of a professional setting. Like Margot said, when people try to call now with all the limits and regulations, you have to be civil and cordial up until a point. But couple of years ago, one of my first professional negotiations was when I had the opportunity to sell the Niagara Wine Trail magazine, and it was one of those it was a very much learning experience. I learned that I have to work very, very hard because this was all commission-based advertising sales for the Wine Trail magazine, and that I needed to also be willing to negotiate. And I also learned to involve a lot of parties because I was not the ultimate decision maker when it came to the final publication. I had to negotiate with a couple of restaurants, and one of the compromises during the negotiation was the fact that instead of paying for an advertisement, we actually got a pretty decent meal out of it, which may or may not explain why that business, unfortunately, is no longer with us, because they didn't have the money, so they decided to bring it back in food. Now, I also am learning that it is important to be civil during negotiations, because I believe that it's only 70% of negotiation is professional, and that there is instances where you do need to walk away from the negotiation. And I think that I haven't had too many of those personally, other than basically working at the winery and kind of dealing with people that didn't want to listen, or they didn't want to try to understand where you're coming, what negotiating angle you're coming from. So I think that it's very important to be civil until it's not. I learned that through my other experience being an umpire, that it is important to stand up to the other person so you don't get taken advantage of in future negotiations. I think that one thing that I've learned through that experience is that it's important to stand up for yourself. It's important to believe what you're trying to sell, because that needs to come across in negotiations, especially in a professional setting. I have learned a lot through negotiations. I know that early on in my professional career, when I would go in for interviews, they would ask about negotiations, and I would always say that was one of my weaker points professionally, because I didn't have the confidence in being able to find a common ground and striking that balance in negotiations and things like that. So I do advise anybody going forward to be more self-reflective when it comes to trying to find a compromise in people's situations. I think that it is very, very important that you can continue to grow and you learn from each negotiation, because I'm also of the idea that even when you're dealing with friends and family, everything is a negotiation. Everything that has to do with either selling yourself, selling an idea, selling an event is a negotiation. So it is very, very important to remember that everything is sales, therefore everything is a negotiation. And that at the end of the day, to help compromise or to finally get the thing that you really, really want, it is also really important to remember that I really, really want it is actually a good negotiation tactic. And it's also a good way to get to that final ending point. Madam Toastmaster.
Sorry about that. I forgot to unmute during the speech because I was cleaning up from my mugs. Anyway, our second speaker this morning is Len Thornton. Len is going to be evaluated by Anne Marie. Anne Marie, could you please share what his goals are this morning?
Yes, good morning, fellow Toastmasters and guests. It's my honor today to be evaluating Len Thornton. But before I mention the dynamics of his speech, I want to say that my favorite mug is a Starbucks mug. And I feel very uncreative when I see all the mugs that Margot has. Oh my gosh, amazing. I grab this unless it's in the dishwasher and I have to do a second one. I think I like it because it's huge. I could probably fit a gallon of coffee in here. And I live on coffee. I don't have many addictions, but this is a huge one. So that's my favorite mug. Len will be speaking from the Pathways Level 3 group today. And Know Your Sense of Humor is the section. His purpose is to begin developing a collection of humorous stories to be presented that include humor. And his speech should include at least one anecdote or story intended to entertain or bring humor into the presentation. And Margot, do you have his title?
I certainly do. Thank you, Anne Marie.
Welcome.
And his time?
5 to 7 minutes. So anyway, Len steps up to do whatever job we need him to do in this club, especially as our techie, and whatever we needed at Tom's Diner with microphones, anything we need to do. And so that's what he's doing today. He's stepping up again with Pathways 3. His speech is called Dry Bar, and it is a 5 to 7 minute speech. So Len Thornton.
Good morning, everyone. This is a routine by a comedian named Kellen Erskine, originally performed at the Dry Bar Comedy Club in Provo, Utah. I'll be attempting stand-up using his material. So I was thinking the other day, you know what's not stealing? Putting an extra bike lock on a stranger's bike. Think about it. It's insane that bike locks are legal. It's just available to the public. Do you have any idea the power you yield with just your imagination and a bike lock? You could be walking down the street, pass a Baskin Robbins, and boop, you're closed. It is so arbitrary what we need permission to buy. You have to show photo ID when you go in a hobby store just to buy paint. But just think, any one of us are just one Amazon click away from buying yellow cones and directing traffic anywhere we want. I don't like buying milk. It's not sold like other items. If you grab a bag of marshmallows off the shelf, the other ones don't come at you. But milk, the heaviest item in the store, they put on a ramp coming toward your face. You pull 1 gallon off and 7 others slam forward. 2%, you wanted not fat? It's too late, you can't put it back. I discovered though, you push those other milk cartons hard enough, they disappear. I got back into running this summer, and a friend of mine who runs quite a bit mentioned that if I shaved my legs, I could make my time faster. He's got a beard. He said, I've been riding my bike for years, and I started shaving my legs every day, and I cut 2 minutes off my commute. How long does it take you to shave? And I told him, you know, you could shave your legs quicker if your arms were shaved. I like to read online a lot. I love the trivia. I just learned recently that human skin is so sensitive, it can detect the touch of a bee's wing on it. That's 1/10,000th of an ounce. If that's true, I'm a little below that. I've gone an entire day without realizing I have an extra pair of underwear in my pant legs. So during the election season, I was looking at the US map, and I know we colonized east to west, you know, right to left, but it looks like it was the other way around. It looks like our founding fathers approached a guy and had an outline of the future country on paper. They gave it to him with a pen and said, listen, we need you to divide this up into 50 sections. Start on the left side. And he's like, oh yeah, There is plenty of room. Okay, if you don't get that, you shouldn't be allowed to vote. When I moved into my house, it had a landline, and I was talking to my neighbor in the front yard. He's kind of nosy. Some of us have that neighbor. He very casually slipped us into the conversation. He said, "Hey, Len, the other day I picked up part of your phone conversation from your cordless phone to my baby monitor." Yeah, it's a real thing. I didn't know. I also didn't know how to respond. He's just smiling at me like a weirdo. So I said, "Actually, I don't have a cordless phone, but occasionally I do stand in your baby's room and talk to him." Do you ever have this happen where your phone's about to die, so you plug it in while you're talking? Yeah, I do that, but I always forget that the cord is only 11 inches long. So I end up kneeling by my dresser for a half hour. I just want to know who designed that cord. I imagine a couple of scientists at Verizon Laboratory, and one says, why don't we make it long enough so that they can sit on the couch? And his supervisor's like, "That's ridiculous. If they didn't do it before bedtime, that's their fault. Don't worry though, I'm making this other cord that stretches out to 9 or 10 feet, and they can only use it in their cars." You know, I think the most selfish thing a person can do is to leave an empty shopping cart in a parking space. Have you done that? Shame on you. Shame on you. Are you telling me you can meander 2.5 miles inside a Costco, and the moment you get back to your car, you're like, not another step? I timed out my physical endurance down to this moment. Yeah, I don't even care. You guys can try this too. Every time I'm in a grocery store, I take someone else's cart. Do it, full of food, take it. It is so much faster. And you get to try new things. No, do it. It's not wrong. It's not stealing. What could they possibly say to you? "Excuse me, I gathered that." It's like, thanks, you can regather that. You already know the route. And those healthy food stores, I never buy anything from that aisle of barrels. I don't like how accessible it is to bare hands or the air. But here's what I do. I go to the most expensive granola bin and scoop it into the cheapest one. I'm the Robin Hood of Whole Foods. That's my time, everyone. You've been a great audience. Thank you.
Thank you, Len. And our third evaluator this morning, evaluating Larry McKenzie, is Larry Eggert. We have the Larry and Larry Show.
Yep, the Larry and Larry Show. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and guests. I'll be evaluating my other brother, Larry, today. He is speaking from, I'm not sure which manual it is, but it's Connecting with Storytelling is the topic or the title. The purpose of this project, wow, is to practice using a story within a speech or giving a speech that is a story. His time, Madam Timer, is 5 to 7 minutes, and Madam Toastmaster, wow, do you have his title?
I certainly do. So past President Larry McKenzie is working in level 3 in the presentation mastery path. And as Larry Eggert said, it's connecting with storytelling. Throughout his time in Toastmasters, he's been honing his skills at storytelling. So I am excited to hear his new story called This Is. Larry McKenzie, This Is.
This is my story, 65 years in 5 to 7 minutes. How can I do that? Well, I have to go back to when I was young. One of the things that I enjoyed the most was watching game shows with my mom. Now I'm an only child, and I grew up with a lot of cousins and family, but I spent a lot of time with mom, and she loved watching game shows on TV. So that's where my passion for game shows came about. She used to watch Bob Barker. She used to watch Alex Trebek. And they made a big influence on my life because I tried to emulate them as a young child, because I thought that that may be something that I want to do later in life, or maybe because I thought it might make my mom smile. Whatever it was, it carried with me throughout the years. And as I progressed and got older, I went through a different, I guess you would say, time in my life where I had different jobs, maybe not the right job for me or the right thing for me, but I still had that passion. I used to listen to the radio. I used to play on my AM FM radio when I was younger, and I would dial in all of these radio stations late at night and try to get them. And I would listen to a guy named Wolfman Jack, and he had such a unique voice. And I would try to be just like Wolfman Jack, and I would take you on that tour all the way down and play those famous songs for you. Was I Wolfman Jack? No, I was Larry McKenzie. So where did Larry progress through his time? Larry, I was a bar owner. I worked in a factory. I was an assistant manager in a grocery store, but I still had that passion because I loved game shows. I loved music. I loved imitating. And one of the reasons was, as a child, I had a cleft palate. I still have that cleft palate. I had a lot of surgery. So as a young boy, I had to learn how to enunciate and speak slower. So I tried to do different voices, which were the Wolfman Jacks. I used to emulate also the Bob Barkers and the Alex Trebeks. As those journey in life paths go, my life path took me to becoming an entertainer. I became a DJ, so I got to imitate Wolfman Jack, some of the others, Shane Brother Shane. You may not know who Shane Brother Shane is, but he did something that you probably say, well, that sounds kind of strange. He was upset with the radio station because they wouldn't let him play this one particular song. So what he did was he went on for his shift and he played that song, and he played it again, and he played it again, and he played it again for his entire shift. He didn't work there much longer after that. I don't know why, but those were things that influenced my life, and I became a disc jockey. From there, I never lost my passion for game shows. And one of the persons who I thought was phenomenal was Alex Trebek, who we recently lost. A little bit about Alex. Alex was born in Ontario. He was born in Canada. My family's from Canada. What? He was from Sudbury. He was born in 1940, which would have made him 80 years old this year. Now, Alex had the same type of passion as I did as a kid. He loved game shows, but he also loved being an announcer. One of the things that you may not know, but I used to watch Hockey Night in Canada on Wednesday nights, every Wednesday. Alex Trebek at one time interviewed to be the host for Hockey Night in Canada. Did he get the job? No, not because he wasn't a good announcer. Why did he not get the job? He had a mustache. What? They didn't think it was the right image for hockey? Okay. He later in life went on to also host Concentration. That was a game show that I used to watch as a kid. He also hosted To Tell the Truth. What? You're probably saying, you got to be kidding. He also hosted Double Dare, High Rollers card game, which is coming back now. But he's most well known for his hosting of Jeopardy. Now, Jeopardy is the show that he hosted for 37 years. Now, myself, I only had the opportunity to emulate him and all the others because I created about 20 different game shows, not on the same level as Alex Trebek. But I also like Bob Barker. Bob Barker, Price is Right. The Family Feud. How many people love The Family Feud? True. But we're talking about Alex Trebek here right now, and he was one of my favorites. Alex was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer back in March of 2019. From that point on, he could have stopped, but he didn't. He kept going and going and going. And that's one of the things about being an entertainer. No matter how bad your day is or how much you're suffering, the show must go on. And one of the things that Alex did was, in this year, he survived over a year with the pancreatic cancer. On October 29th, he went in and taped his last shows. And he did it because of his passion for what he did. And I think all of us should have that passion for something that we want to do in life that not only defines who we are, but it defines on what's inside of us. And Alex Trebek is one of the persons who I must say is one of my mentors. And I must say that he made quite an influence on my life. And this is my story in 7 minutes. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Larry. And with that, I would like to ask for a timer's report. So Jackie, as soon as you're finished, go for it.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Everybody did a great job today. Mike, 5 minutes and 34 seconds. Len, 7:03, and Larry McKenzie, also 7:03. So
Fabulous.
everyone qualifies.
All right, so while the voting goes up, I'll do one last round of coffee mugs that I brought with me. As some of you know, when we go on vacation, Jim and I dress alike. It is basically my thing, and he goes along with me. So for Father's Day last year, I took his 4 favorite pictures, had them put on a coffee mug. In return, he got me a coffee mug with a quote from Eleanor Roosevelt from a conference he went to. It says, "I have a firm belief in the ability and power of women to achieve," which was a lot better than the mug he brought me from the previous conference in Washington State that had a recipe for apple pie on it. For those of you who don't know, I cannot make a pie to save my life. I can't buy the crust, fill it, and bake it and make a decent pie. And the last group of mugs I have are, my alma mater mugs. Cornell University Mom. I've got We Grow the Ivy from the Ag School. And from our reunion this year, it was Wish We Were There, because we had a virtual reunion. So that is just part of my collection and part of the things that get my day going with a start. With that, I'm going to hope our evaluators are all ready. So our first evaluator this morning is Gerald Stevens. Gerald, could you please tell us about Mike's speech?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, and especially Mike for presenting us a very nice speech today. Mike started out with negotiation, talking about his experience as a child, trying to negotiate that expensive toy with his parents. I feel like that was a very relatable story for sure. I can definitely think back in my younger days trying to negotiate with my parents for a lot of things, including Christmas things. He used anecdotes, which is always more interesting, I believe, in a speech. Talked about his experiences with the Niagara Rhine Trail magazine, and he gave us a few tips today. Told us that we should walk away sometimes. Stand up for yourself in negotiation. You don't want people rolling all over you. These are some good tips for sure. Some improvements for Mike today. I would like to see him increase his vocal variety and maybe even do a little role play with a negotiation. That would have been good. I'll give you an example. When I was in Moscow, we went to the Bolshoi Ballet, but we didn't have tickets. So I needed to negotiate with a guy in total black, possibly a mobster. So what I did is I went up to him and we went back and forth in the negotiation. 1,000 rubles, 500 rubles. no more. Something like that. So we can kind of bring out the vocal variety and gestures. My wife turned completely pale, of course, thought I was going to die. But in the end, we got the tickets. So something like that would have been great to hear, like a play-by-play. And that would also ramp up the gestures. So I think that would also be helpful. In the end, I would have liked to see a little stronger conclusion as well, maybe a call to action and how to apply these tips that he taught us today in regards to our normal lives for negotiation. If I want to go hang out with my buddies, maybe I need to do some yard work or something. So negotiate with the wife, you know, those kind of things. Something I feel like we definitely deal with every day. So, because he did reference friends and family in his close to his conclusion. I did like the fact that near the end, he did use the title in his conclusion. So I always love to see that. And also, I feel like he practiced his speech pretty well because he did not have many ahs and ums, and the flow was very good. So good job overall, and try to put his recommendations into action in your day and your future, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Jerry. Our second evaluator this morning is Anne Marie Lenhart. Anne Marie. Oop, unmute, please.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear? Good morning again, fellow Toastmasters and guests, and especially Len Thornton. What a privilege it is to evaluate you, Len. I've just admired you for years. You're such an excellent speaker. And I think your most wonderful trait is you're so relaxed. You're just relaxed and you have a nice cadence and a really good sense of presence. I love the fact that you took us back to Tom's Diner and you really sounded like a talk show host, you know, and your movement was very effective, moving back and forth. And your stories, you had so many of them. And I love the title because it was very appropriate to the speech, Dry Bar. Very subtle, just subtle sense of trivia. And, you know, just kind of a nice flow and interlocking of one story next to the other, and so many things that I could relate to. The phone cord, I always have a problem with. Somehow I'm on an important call and my battery's going dead, and I run in the bedroom and I plug it in and it's not long enough. And I have found myself on my knees kneeling. So that was a very relatable story. Incredible images, the running. You know, if you shave your legs or shave under your arms, you can pick up time. I love that. And especially the nitty gritty trivia about an extra, I think it was an extra pair of underwear under your pants that you didn't know you had. So the humor was really there, but the humor was incredibly dry and subtle, but very professional and very effective. So again, you have a great sense of confidence and, you know, very organized from beginning to end. And again, the interlocking of the pieces of trivia, I was really amazed at. The basics and the evaluation, the eye contact and the gestures and the vocal variety were all there. And again, the main strength, I think, is you really kept our attention. So in terms of improvement, it's hard when you have such an itinerant speaker to give points for improvement, but I had 3. Number 1, the movement was wonderful, but after a while I was getting a little bit dizzy because you had so much of it, so I would cut back on that. Second, I think you need simplicity. There were so many stories that just kind of woven into one another, and it would have been nice to have fewer stories. And third, your conclusion kind of trailed off. So a call to action or something that we can remember in the end would have been good, but otherwise it was a fantastic speech.
Thank you very much, Anne Marie. And our third evaluator this morning is Larry.
Morning again, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and especially Larry. Hey, before you start my time, I don't have the mug with me. I've got my Buffalo mug with tea in it today, but I have one favorite mug my daughter got me, and I'm paraphrasing here, but congratulations, Dad. Another year of not paying for my wedding. I thought was very nice. Anyway, so Larry, as always, a great speech. I always look forward to hearing from you when you speak. It's always a great speech, and you didn't disappoint again today. Good clarity, and I'm going to go down the list of the checklist that I have here. Good clarity. You have great diction, and you're a student of the spoken word. So when you speak, it's your diction puts me to shame. I'm dropping G's all the time, and you're very good at that. Your vocal variety was outstanding. You started out very enthusiastic about the speech. 65 years in 5 to 7 minutes, which is a significant undertaking. I like the fact vocal variety. You tried to imitate Wolfman Jack. Not great, but it was good. It was good. You gave it a shot. It was not bad. Eye contact was great. You didn't use any notes at all. You could tell you were just talking right into the audience, which is outstanding. I know when I talk, sometimes don't give it up. I hear him complimenting you. Gestures. I'm going to steal a little bit from the gesture master, but it's important because it's part of my evaluation. But in and out, when you had emphasized things, you used your hands quite a bit, a lot of fingers going on, a lot of thumbs, and that was important, but it wasn't distracting. It was just low enough that it gave it a little more variety. Audience awareness. I was watching the screen, and sometimes when people talk, as they watch these little squares, you can see people are looking around or doing something else. But when you were speaking, you had the audience engaged. As I went around, everybody was watching your speech, which I think is important. Your comfort level was great. You generated quite a bit of interest. Again, the way you did that was you used characters we all could relate to: Alex Trebek, Bob Barker, Wolfman Jack. I think most of us remember Wolfman Jack. I'm going to make it was a little before my time, but I do remember him. So there are some older people here than me. And the pace was outstanding. So if I really had to dig here, what could be better? And, at first I was going to say no, but there's nothing that you could improve on. And I started thinking about it. If this would be a perfect speech, if you could get up and move around, because I know you're good at it when we have in the club, when we're in the restaurant, this would have been perfect. You'd have been up and down, your arms would have been going, you would have been really enthusiastic. And I think that would have been great. Obviously you can't do that here, but certainly something to maybe think about in the future. Overall, you excelled at your enthusiasm. Entertainment was great. Great ending of the speech. I thought was excellent how you started the speech, 65 years in 5 to 7 minutes, and you ended it the same way. So overall, it was a very, very good speech. I really enjoyed it. And thanks for sharing that with us today. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Larry. And may I have one last timer's report?
Yes, you may. Again, everyone did a great job. We have, let's see, Gerald at 2:52, Anne Marie at 2:48, and Larry at 2:45. So everyone qualifies again.
All right. So as the poll comes up, please vote for the best evaluator. And show of hands, who knows who Wolfman Jack is? Because in the chat, not everybody does. Okay. It must be generational. It's like when I say Carter's little liver pills, people give me a blank look on that one. With that, since the evaluations are done, I would like to turn the entire meeting over to our general evaluator this morning. So please help me welcome Tom Moran.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I think one of the nice things one of the important things about a Toastmasters meeting, and one of the things that makes for a great Toastmasters meeting, is not so much the meeting itself, but the preparation that's put into it. I have a nice program here. I have everybody's speech and title and their objectives on the program. I would like to applaud Margot for all of the work that she's done prior to this meeting today. The meeting runs an hour and a half, but she did a lot of work. I got a lot of different communications from Margot, as I'm sure everyone else did who had a part in the meeting today. So that's one of the keys to having a good, solid Toastmasters meeting. I love the theme this morning, and I liked seeing all your mugs. I'll wait for the laughter to die down. Sometimes my jokes, as well as Len's, can be very esoteric, so we have to wait. Okay, so on with the evaluators. Each evaluator this morning did an excellent job, I have to say. Gerald started out evaluating Mike's speech. Now, Mike did a nice job this morning, and Mike just keeps getting better and better with every speech. And that's very noticeable. And I think Gerald pointed that out. But he gave him some ideas on things that he could do with the vocal variety. And he also threw in there that he could, if he wanted to, actually give an example of a negotiation and how it worked out. So I thought that was more than adequate evaluation. Gerald, you did a nice job this morning, and thank you. Anne Marie did a nice job as well with Len's speech. That was a difficult speech to evaluate because it's so much different than anything else that we normally see. We normally see the person sitting in a chair in front of the computer and doing the speech. This was kind of like out of the ordinary speech that Len did, and I'd like to acknowledge him for taking the risk that he did. I think one of the things that would improve Len's speech is, and I know he can handle this, is I would put a laugh track in there somewhere, because I think that gives you an opportunity to pause during that, from one delivery to the next. Because what happened, and Anne Marie pointed this out, that there were so many speeches or so many different topics to go to one from the other, that because there were no pauses in there, they kind of got compressed, and it was kind of difficult to follow sometimes. So I think, try a laugh track. I'd try it the next, I'd do it again if I were you. Larry, good suggestions. I don't envy anyone today who is voting on best evaluator. This is going to be a tough call today because everybody did such a nice job. So on with the program itself. It started on time, which was great. The pledge was done, and there's something about the pledge that we either have to all do it, or we have to have someone do it, like we do the invocation, and other people listen, because it becomes all kind of mixed in with everybody. Everybody's timing is not the same. So I kind of think we should maybe work on something like that. I like the idea, and Eric was very on top of this, introducing all the guests so that we know who they are and even where they are from. So that was nice. The theme today was I kind of questioned it when I saw on the program that it was about coffee mugs, but everybody bought into that. And I guess that's what's important about a theme, is it can be something out of the ordinary, but if everybody buys into it, and a lot of people brought different mugs and talked about different mugs and things that were important to them on the mugs and what the meaning was and why they had them. So I thought that was nice. And I thought what else was nice was Charlie still on here? Yeah, Charlie, you did a nice job with table topics this morning. You incorporated the theme of the meeting, and those people had mugs and they were able to talk about it. And so that was kind of cool. That all worked itself together and what made for a smooth meeting. I already said it's been a pleasure seeing all your mugs. I have favorite mugs myself, and those I have 12 grandchildren, so believe me, I get a lot of mugs. But my most favorite of those is I have a couple of grandchildren who love to draw and do art, and one of my daughters takes and transfers those art pictures onto a mug for me, and I really like that. Art's important to me, so I enjoy that. All in all, it was a very good meeting this morning, and it was actually worth getting up for. So I should go along and ask for reports, Madam Toastmaster? I see your nod there. Good. Okay, let's start with the gesture master. That would be Nancy Ferry.
Well, thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. My favorite mug is my Life is Good mug. I don't, this is probably coming up back, you can't even see it. It's just a flower. It says life is good, do what you like what you do, which is their motto. Have lots of life is good t-shirts and that kind of thing. So I just like to remember, even in the rough times, that life is good. As gesture master today, I really focused on eyes and smiles and realized that when we're in a room and we're all standing there, I'm looking at other gestures. I'm looking more at hands and feet and body swaying and that kind of thing. Really focused on the eyes and the smiles. And Eric, you started us off with great facial gestures, very animated, appreciated that, got us all laughing. Lots of thumbs up today, quite a few hand gestures. Sometimes they only come halfway up in the screen, but I could tell that they were happening. Eric and David and Larry. David, you leaned into the camera like this when you were emphasizing something. Marty, you did a nice shoulder shrug when you were emphasizing you weren't sure about something. Phil, you talked about honoring the military, and then you use these typical military gestures, that hand chopping and the finger pointing. I felt like that was an awesome emphasis on what you were talking about. I don't know if it just came naturally or you thought about it, but I noticed it. Len, just great all around gestures. It was also a treat to see someone moving around. And I'm not sure if this is a negotiable gesture master observation, but Carol Ann, you held the sign for the word of the day, nice and high. It was a great gesture. Perhaps writing the definition on the back could help make it more confident. And then we could see the word for a little bit longer and see the definition as we're hearing it. I would like that. Let me see. I think the greatest gesture or the best gesture of the day was the raising of mugs. Went with the theme. And that's my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Gesture Master. Could we have a grammarian's report next, Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. We most certainly can. So I wanted to touch on one of the biggest themes of the meeting, and that was run-on sentences during speaking. It was happening in quite a few different realms, so I just wanted to bring it up first and foremost before I go in. Remember, your speech, like your writings, should have pauses in the appropriate places. Jill, I really liked the make it tasteful to me. I think tasty has never sounded right coming out as a speech, in use of speech rather. Mike Licata, civil and cordial. A couple of things there, preparing me how to negotiate. So preparing me for negotiations, teaching me how to negotiate, or preparing to negotiate would be a couple of different options there. Len, accessful at one point you said, which I think you were going for excessive. I also had the note for Larry about diction. Tom, the use of the word esoteric was wonderful, even though I had no idea who this Wolfman person was and I was not part of the esoteric group. I felt a little excluded. I'm just kidding, I'm fine. I wanted to share with you guys my favorite coffee mug because this mug is from Omegon Brewery. It holds about 4 cups of coffee, the 6 ounce, not really a cups. And the mug itself stays very, very warm, which means that it's comforting to hold, as well as being a little bit heavy because it's thicker. And so the coffee stays warmer longer as I go through my 4 cups of coffee at once. And finally, I will end my grammarian report with the shopping cart theory to assist with Len. Shopping cart has no consequences whether or not you return it. So you can tell a lot about somebody just by seeing them in a parking lot, whether or not they bring their shopping cart back, or if they just kind of push it towards the destination, or if they leave it right where they stopped. So shopping cart theory. Thank you very much, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you for that fine grammarian's report. Could I have Dave Licata give us an Masters report? David, are you ready?
I'm ready and able, sir. How are you?
I am good. Oh, you know what? I am well, actually.
Thank you. All right, here we go, folks. This is my AM Lockport Toastmasters mug. Doesn't have any witty sayings on it, but we are witty people. We are wise people. And if we want to share our wit and wisdom, the best way to do it is be a Toastmaster. Now, on with the report. We were well behaved today. We only had a few problems. Our dear friend from down there in the Carolinas, David Jones, had 3. Ryan just gave me 3 just now, moments ago. Marty had 1. Nancy was doing great, but right at the end she had 1. And Jill Roaring only had 1, but it was a beauty. It was an absolute Hollywood So if you wanted to emphasize somebody getting up in the morning in a movie, they'd make this grand gesture of an like a yawn, and that's what she gave us. Anne Marie did not have more than 5. She had 5. And Larry Eggert had 3. And Mr. Moran, our general evaluator, that is my report for today.
Oh, thank you. I was waiting for you to tell me how many ahs and ums I had.
No, you were. Wait a minute.
Oh,
No,
never
you're clear,
mind.
baby.
You're done. You're done, David. You're
Clear.
fine.
You're clear. You're clear.
Okay. Now, could I have the Quizmaster report, please? And that would be Phil Russell. Phil?
Cousin Tom,
Test
thank you
us.
so much.
Test us out, Phil.
Yes. Now the test. Now for the test. It's all negotiable. All these questions are negotiable. First thing I'd like everybody to do is unmute themselves so I can hear your answers to these most important questions of the day. Margot has coffee mugs with what animal on it?
Ed.
All right. Charlie had how many coffee mugs with him today?
4.
3.
4. All right. Now, these are important questions. These are important. Sylvia, what was her coffee cup?
M&M.
Right. David's organization is?
Toastmasters.
Toastmasters.
And Jill's favorite drink is?
Pepsi.
Good. Now, this is multiple guess.
Multiple guess.
Multiple guess. Multiple guess in my style. Our 3 speakers. What were the 3 titles?
Ooh.
My
7 minutes.
This is.
And this is.
But I want it.
Right. This is Dry Bar and But I Want It. Last question. Tom, my cousin, has how many grandchildren?
12.
12.
15, 12.
Correct. Mr. Tom. Take it over.
Is that it, Phil?
That's it. That's
Oh,
it.
okay. So how did we do? Did everybody succeed with the Quizmaster report?
I would have to say we all aced that test. So we're all A+ students.
So I believe that other than the Wordmaster report ends my stint as a general evaluator. Madam Toastmaster, do you want to wait and do the Wordmaster report at the very end of the meeting, or do you want to?
No, but we can do it now so we can turn it back over to our officers.
Okay. Wordmaster report from Carol Ann. Carol Ann, could you give us the, and don't be negotiating with anybody here on that word. Okay.
We did very well today. Sylvia, Dave Jones, and Jill, the table topics, which was mandatory, they used it. Margot, Dave Licata, Ryan, Marty, Jackie used it a couple times, Nancy, Phil, Dr. Gerald, and of course, the one that wins the prize is Mike Licata, since his speech was totally on the word negotiable. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol Ann. So I will turn this meeting then over to our presiding officer this morning. That would be our Mr. President. What's your name again? Oh, that's James Bond, 007. Would you please take over the meeting, James? I'm sure you're going to inquire from our guests their thoughts. So, thank you.
Thank you, Tom, for the wonderful introduction of me. Thank you. I would like to ask our guests how they enjoyed the meeting this morning, and I'll start with our guest all the way from London, England, Chris.
Well, thank you, 007, and I really enjoyed your meeting today, and thank you for having me.
We appreciate you coming back. We look forward to seeing you again. Our guest from Quinn City, Vanessa Waller, the club president of Quinn City. How did you enjoy our meeting today?
Hey, Eric. I thought it was an excellent meeting. I've been taking notes on what you guys are doing. And as Eric mentioned, I'm currently serving as president of Queen City Toastmasters down in Charlotte, North Carolina. And Eric's been a regular attendee at our club. So I definitely wanted to check out his club that he was telling me about. And it was just a great meeting. And everyone had a role. It felt like everyone was involved. So thank you so much for letting me join you.
Thank you so much, Vanessa, for joining us. We appreciate it. Paula Bass, how did you enjoy the meeting today?
I always enjoy the meeting. I wish I could get here more often. But for you, those that do know Wolfman Jack, a few years ago, I was speaking to a mother of preschoolers group. And I mentioned that I finally got a smartphone. The challenge was my children thought it was wonderful because they always called my phone the Atari phone. And one young woman looked at the other and said, what's Atari? So not to worry. Wolfman Jack isn't quite as old as the Atari phone.
Paula, thank you so much for joining us today. And I see we have a guest, Cecilia Driscoll. Cecilia, Mokulis's guest. How'd you enjoy our meeting today?
I really enjoyed it. This is the third one that I've been able to get to, and I'm hoping to get to more and get more regular with it. So thanks a lot, all of you.
We hope you join us again for another fun-filled meeting here. All right, Dave. Yes, David.
Hang on. Okay. Jen Zappa, did you ever see the movie American Graffiti?
I've seen American Graffiti.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not really good at remembering what movies I've seen. Sometimes I get like 5 minutes before the end.
You would remember American Graffiti, and that's your homework assignment. Thank you.
Okay.
Jeez. I don't know who Wolfman
Hey, Dave, you want to take that football out later?
What? What? I didn't get that. What? The
You want to
football.
go?
Okay.
Football.
The football.
Oh my.
At last. I think I got the better of her this time, but it probably won't last.
All right, moving on. All right, hold on. Larry, you go first. Go ahead.
I just had one thing that I wanted to mention. First of all, this is Wolfman Jack right behind me. And the other was, and I was waiting for somebody to catch it. During Len's speech today, he used a unique microphone. It was his TV remote. Did you notice? Great job with the prop. Great job. Back to you, Mr. President. Sorry.
Well, Len, did you have something?
Yeah, two things, Eric and Toastmasters. First of all, I neglected to show my mug. One of my favorites is this Donate Life mug from Upstate New York Transplant Services, formerly called Units. They rebranded and they changed their name to Connect Life. And I had the privilege of serving on the board with them and learned a lot about this great organization. Connect Life, they're also a local blood bank as well as organ procurement and donation, people saving lives every day. And secondly, we all learned the sign language for applause. There's one for laughter as well, when we can't all be contributing because of the lag and having everybody unmuted. The sign language for laughter is smiling and kind of pointing to your mouth. So, but maybe we'll do that or incorporate that in as more feedback for the speakers in the future. So now we have two things we know. Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Len. All right, on to our winners this morning. I would like to congratulate our winners for table topics. Our best table topics is David Jones from Quinn City. So Vanessa, if you want to make mention to David that he won table topics.
I definitely will. He'll be really excited.
All right, thank you. Our best evaluator today is Larry Eggert. And they should host their own show, and our best speaker is Larry McKenzie. So the Larry and Larry show will be somewhere on TV hopefully soon. Anyway, are there any final announcements from the floor? Marty?
Fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests. I just wanted to mention that a couple weeks ago at the District 65 awards and celebration, Dave Licata's name was brought up. There you go. You hear me, Dave? Dave Licata's name was brought up by
Because they thought I was dead.
By Miss Moreno from, I think her name is
Leslie
Moreno.
Leslie Moreno from Batavia.
From Batavia.
Yeah. Her point was that she wanted to thank Dave Licata for his help and help them building up their club. And they won an award for building up their club, and they said thank you for Dave Licata for all his help. So thank you, Dave.
Hey.
Thank you.
Oh,
that's all. Thank you, Eric.
Who's next week's Toastmaster?
Phil Russell.
Also,
Ooh.
Eric, this Saturday is training.
Yes. I will be making mention to that with the officers. Yes, there is officer training next week. There is split up into two different ways. This Saturday is for the club presidents and VPEs. Next Saturday is for the rest of the officers. So I will be posting the link to join on Zoom, and if anybody has any questions, please contact me. Thank you for the reminder, Larry.
And officers, stick around for a meeting in a breakout room, anyone who can today. We should wrap up and everything else could go to post toasties.
Okay, I know Carol Ann has something real quick. Go ahead, Carol Ann.
Yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to show my Waffle House mug. We love going there, and I really wish we had a Waffle House in Western New York.
Yep.
Oh, don't we all want a good Waffle House? That's all. All right.
Williamsville.
Oh, there's one in Williamsville? Okay.
It's not part of the chain, though.
No, there isn't.
It's independent.
Independent. Okay. All right, fellow Toastmasters and guests, thank you so much for your presence today. Really appreciate it. Have a good weekend. Post Toasties.